Did Texas Tech's team bus have its tire slashed at Arizona? Does Jerome Tang deserve $19 million in his buyout? And where does BYU go without Parker Kingston? All really good questions. Let's answer them. This is Locked On Big 12.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Big 12. I'm Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12. Thank you for making this show your first listen every single day, and everydayers can get this show ad-free. LockedOnBig12.supercast.com. LockedOnBig12.supercast.com. Let's start. Tire slashed at Texas Tech in Arizona in their game in Tucson? Maybe. I don't know. And what do we do if so? A lot going on there. TJ Pittenger of College Football Addiction will join the show to help break that down. Jerome Tang did not deserve to be fired for cause. This looks really bad if you're a Kansas State fan, and I'm sorry that your administration continues to make your university prestigious and beautiful and nice look silly. Then BYU without Parker Kingston. We've talked a lot about the guy and the situation, but what does BYU do without him? They need to go grab somebody. Surely they'll have the opportunity to, right? Right? If you hit subscribe, I get to keep my job. TJ, were some tires slashed at Texas Tech in Arizona?
Texas Tech with a little bit of drama off the court. I guess we're going basketball here, but a little bit of drama going on right now.
Yeah, TJ, I wanted to take a couple days before I officially reported on this one. And I mentioned an opinion earlier in the week that Texas Tech's tires have been slashed by Arizona fans. And I was still wondering, is this true? Have all the facts come out? And by now, here's what we've learned. There's a viral video capturing an individual wearing a blue hoodie who is visibly puncturing the team bus of Texas Tech. Again, I had to do my digging to figure out after their 78-75 upset over #1 Arizona, that being on February 15th. So gave it a couple days, figured out, is this real? Yeah, Texas Tech Athletics has confirmed a tire on their team bus was damaged overnight the evening of the game. It was replaced promptly. There were no delays to the team schedule, and authorities are investigating the incident shown in footage where the idiot, can I say asshat? Asshat, believe it if you want, filmed himself while cutting the tires of the Texas Tech team bus. Replies on the tweet. It now has 1.2 million views. Are Arizona fans that are upset with their own fan base and apologizing. Texas Tech fans that are frustrated toward Tucson altogether as a host city. And this is some high school BS. The dude's got a butter knife that he can't even get out of the tire that he stuck into it. And he's filming himself doing this. I mean, okay, two-parter here, TJ, or I guess multiple-parter. But to start, back when I was a kid, back in the day, if you were going to slash somebody's tires, you weren't too weak to pull the knife out of the tire. First and foremost, slash a tire correctly. Second most, don't slash tires. Can we go with a third point? Yeah,
like I'm in no way condoning the activity of slashing tires, but filming yourself while you do this, like if you're going to do it, the idea of filming yourself for it is the most absurd thing I've ever heard. Like, I'm not saying go do it and don't film yourself, but what are we doing here?
Right. It's almost like it was already stupid. That's what we're trying to say here. The base level of this, it's already really stupid, and you're a bad representation of Arizona fans. You're going to mar what Arizona is to the Big 12. And then the layer above that is like, okay, if you're already deciding, no matter what, I'm going to slash the tires, at least be good at it. At least don't give yourself away with a paper trail. And it's exactly what the guy did. So my thing is, and I've had this problem with the Big 12, they're going to fine Texas Tech for throwing tortillas, right? We're going to give you a penalty. We're going to fine you for throwing stupid tortillas. Like, that's a tradition. It's awesome. And the Big 12 ruined it. I'm happy to. I have friends in the Big 12 office. They ruined it. But they won't fine Arizona. They won't fine. We didn't see a fine when BYU heard the F the Mormon chants against Cincinnati. The Big 12 didn't respond at all. It's like this conference, TJ, for some reason, they won't accurately and appropriately take action. They won't bring reprimand on anyone until, I guess the internet made it a big enough deal. We have to. I guess Drake and TJ talked about it, so now we got to do something. It's what it keeps feeling like with this. The Big 12 doesn't get on the forefront. They're allowing a little bit of anarchy across the now. Slashing tires and yelling a chant against religion are two different things, but they're both derogatory toward a school. One of them is a physical violent act with a knife involved near the team bus, and the fact that fans have access to the team buses is also absurd. Again, so many ways to go with this. But TJ, how has the Big 12 not responded? I'm the Big 12 guy. I support the conference, but they've done a terrible job at showing schools like Texas Tech, we support you, we're with you. And look, not to be that guy, but there are human beings involved with this, okay? And what I mean by that is Florida State and Clemson, they were very fickle when they sued the ACC. The last thing you want to do is tick off those two schools. The last thing the Big 12 wants to do right now is tick off Texas Tech and BYU. Yeah. If those two schools tomorrow say, I want somebody who supports me, a conference that loves me, a conference that when my tires get slashed, at least puts a statement out, at least does something, I would want that. And if your flagship schools, the schools that are winning at the highest level right now in football, are the two schools that you're ignoring, that is bad.
And we saw what a big deal was made on the pocket knife on the sideline. Remember we talked about that last year?
Oh, yeah.
And what we came to the conclusion of, our investigative journalism that happens on these channels, was it probably just got dropped by like an equipment guy. Like it probably was not even a big deal. This is a physical act of violence that's happening. This isn't like, I accidentally tripped and my butter knife stuck in the tire. It is an
you know something crazier?
Deliberate act.
You're missing like a small addendum to what actually came out recently about the Texas Tech knife gate. It was a Kansas staff member that dropped their pocket knife on the Texas Tech sideline. That's right. And the Big 12 conference fined Texas Tech for the knife and then never unfined them. Yeah. They were like, well, you used a knife. That's $50,000. And Tech was like, yeah, that's on us. Video footage shows it was a Kansas pocket knife, and they made the stink. And the Big 12 was like, well, our money now.
Yeah. Thank you for the donation. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but I do agree. Like, I wonder, you bring up a bigger point that, is Texas Tech leaving the conference because of this? No. Is BYU going to leave the Big 12? Maybe eventually, but like not in the very near future, over the chance or think that but again, it is this idea of like, listen, I know BYU's only been a member for a little while. I know that Texas Tech has not had like long standing in as being an elite in the conference, right? But I do think that when Texas and Oklahoma left, it did create like an opening for you to not only have a balanced conference, but cream always rises to the top, right? Like this is not unheard of for two teams, especially BYU and Texas Tech, to kind of take that mantle. And if BYU and Texas Tech are the teams that are successful for the next 5 years, right? When the next media rights renegotiations happen, conversations will happen. Like we will talk about them on this channel about, well, could Texas Tech get pulled off? Like if Texas Tech goes to the next 5 college football playoffs and BYU sneaks into a couple of them and wins a couple of Big 12 titles, there will be talks of, does the SEC or the Big 10 want to take a look there? Now, I'm not in any way trying to imply that that's something that's coming today or tomorrow, but I do think that there should be a little bit more of, hey, I know we don't want to have a Texas 2.0 on our hands with BYU or Texas Tech, but there should be at least some forward thinking of like, we kind of need to treat the better teams in our conference like the better teams in our conference so that we don't end up pissing them off like Florida State and Clemson or like Oregon and USC or just whatever, the situation is. A little bit of forward thinking there, probably not the Big 12's worst idea.
Yeah, you have got to be, well, and look, that's a pretty strong motive to do so. You shouldn't need a motive. You shouldn't need a really strong motive outside of the fact of just, hey,
to just do what's right. Well,
we're going to stand up with the school whose tires got slashed. We're going to say, hey, it's the Big 12. We're finding Arizona to showcase that your fan base cannot do this. Otherwise, if I'm an Arizona fan, I'll just keep slashing tires, man. I'll just keep yelling F the Mormons. I will just keep dropping pocket knives on the sideline because no consequence to me, no consequence to my school. Instead, an entire fan base feels scorned, and the Big 12, without stepping in, without showcasing that these schools are valued by the conference, is making a huge, huge mistake. They took way too long with the Oklahoma State deal. They didn't do anything about Cincinnati and BYU. The knife gate was terribly handled. The tortillas were poorly handled. This is poorly handled. I like Brett Yormark, man, but I'm not afraid to be the guy hosting the Big 12 show to say he's getting these things wrong.
Yeah, it's almost like the NFL where they, it's like people call it the no fun league. Like we get rid of the, celebrations, or we get rid of the
cure cancer. Don't say cure cancer.
No. We get rid of all these things that are but then we focus on we focus on the things that we get rid of that are fun, like tortillas and different things like that. And then we completely miss the boat when it comes to the things that actually matter.
Domestic violence? Come on. Come on. But if you wear...
That's part of your contract in the NFL.
Bible verse in the eye black or cure cancer on your eye black, that's $50,000. What are we doing?
We can't handle that. So...
Oh, now today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is exactly where I go. Right now for my NBA futures bets. Like, futures bets, what's that? Well, with FanDuel, you can be entered in to win 2 tickets to the NBA Finals, live and in person. FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into a reality. With a shot to win NBA Finals trip for 2, use your profit boost at FanDuel on any NBA future. You're looking for the NBA champion, the MVP. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you're entered in a chance to win free tickets to the finals. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Today's show is also brought to you by, no doubt, Indeed sponsored jobs. Find the right employee, the right hire for your job. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up. Let's make hiring easy. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. Indeed sponsored jobs. It's where I'm going to hire an intern for Locked On Big 12. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. to show that you support the show and that you listen to this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs.
Kansas State looking for a new basketball coach, but things are not quite done with the former.
I want to apologize to Kansas State fans, man, because they're good people. I've got a lot of good Kansas State fans in the comment section, good Kansas State fans that follow the show. I'm sorry, man. Your administration has made the school that is prestigious and now fun, and thanks to Bill Snyder, has a completely different look on it. He has made Bruce Weber, he is the AD and president combined, they have made this school look like a joke. And it sucks so hard that you as a fan base, who are really good people, have to be seen as a joke nationally because of the way the Jerome Tang situation has been handled. Appalled is a strong word, but it is just gross, man, that Kansas State fires Jerome Tang, and he needed to be fired. It wasn't working out there. That part makes sense. They asked, so TJ, here's what's so asinine about the whole situation. They said, we're firing you for cause. But TJ, when they sat in the room with Jerome Tang, they looked at him and said, hey, we're going to allow you to coach the rest of the year, and then at the end of the year, you can step down. TJ, riddle me this. How are you firing somebody for cause, but verbally you're going to let them continue coaching because whatever they did wasn't bad enough to fire them. It was just bad enough for you to allow them to coach the rest of the year and then step down. That's not what firing for cause means.
Yeah.
Firing for cause means that you did something monumentally bad. You did something bad enough that we need you to go today. You are no longer fit to coach at this institution. What firing for cause is not is me saying, well, yeah, it's cause because we hate you. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
This doesn't work like that. TJ, $19 million are owed to Jerome Tang. Now, not only will he likely get all $19 million because Kansas State looks so silly, but there's a very good chance after lawyer fees and all, K-State pays an entire revenue share, years worth of athletic revenue share, $20.5 million trying to settle this thing with Jerome Tang. It's not going to go their way. They have looked stupid the entire way of this process.
So while I appreciate the Office reference, what is the cause? What would they be saying? Like, here's why you're out today.
This is the worst part.
Today / end of the year. Like
the worst part. He comes to the podium on Wednesday after a loss, and what he says to the media is, hey, I'm embarrassed for our team. I'm embarrassed for our school. These guys don't deserve to wear the jerseys, and many of them won't next year. That's a pretty normal. Like, I've heard way worse. And Doug Gottlieb just gave us a way worse rant at a podium, right, where he's just F-bombing the referees.
Dan Hurley, it's the worst I've ever seen.
Yeah. And then Jerome Tang is just like old school, hard-nosed basketball coach. They lose to Cincinnati by 30. And he says, this is not good enough. We're showing up at 6 a.m. tomorrow. You're like, you know what? Any other coach who's winning says that. The fan base is like, yeah, get him, coach. So, TJ, there's a clause in his contract that says something along the lines of, if Jerome Tang brings any apparent embarrassment to the school, he can be fired for cause. So Gene Taylor, the athletic director, said, wait a second. Did Jerome Tang just say the word embarrassment at the podium? Surely, since he said that this performance is an embarrassment and these players embarrass the school, that's key enough to fire him for cause for not upholding his contract where he cannot embarrass Kansas State. It's a very finicky, small word in that contract Kansas State's hanging its entire argument on, and it's not going to, you can't find the loophole in the, like, if we fire you for cause, okay, Joe Paterno, you're aiding, abetting, ignoring child molestation. Can't do that. Mel Tucker, you're exposing yourself on FaceTime to a female who did not want you to. Can't do that. Those are illegal. Like, the law itself says you cannot do that. We could send you to prison for this. The only illegal thing Jerome Tang did was lose basketball games. Like, that's the only thing he did was just not win basketball games. And they want to hang him on one word he said at a press conference that they think buried somewhere in that contract could allow them to pay him $0. TJ, they asked Jerome Tang, hey man, instead of $19 million, what if you just left for free? What are we doing, man?
Let me get back to you on that.
Like, it is, and I find it funny, you know, Tang has become less and less likable to Kansas State fans, and he was a friend of mine in Waco and was always great to me, so I don't have a bad word to say about him personally, my personal experience. But a lot of Kansas State fans are soured on him after the way it's gone the last couple of years and kind of some what they felt to be empty press conferences or embarrassing moments. Like the Iowa State game. He accused the Iowa State bench or someone of filming his huddles. No one was. He stole a broom from like a towel girl and mopped the floor himself because she couldn't do it right. He kind of showed his butt. Not to say Jerome Tang's been perfect for Kansas State, but in no world can you sit that coach down and say, hey, what if we paid you nothing and you left? They owe him $19 million. And now that not only do they owe him $19 million, what would have otherwise been a non-story, Kansas State fired the coach. All right, good to see you. Smell you later. Now the entire nation's talking about it because the athletic department has screwed this thing up so badly.
Not to take it here, but if just embarrassing your athletic department is enough for people to get fired, can Florida State save like $50 million?
Yeah, I mean, if Jerome Tang's fired for cause, there are so many coaches that could be fired for cause right now. In a lot
of places, this may be the thing. I mean, it's embarrassing for Kansas State. I think a lot of programs try their very best because here's what I'll say. The bad PR from this does fade quickly. Like, does anyone remember, and this guy is not a likable guy, but does anyone even remember that LSU was trying to get out of Brian Kelly's buyout? Like, yeah, and he's not even a likable guy. Like, everyone hates him. Even people at LSU hated him. So maybe people weren't really outraged by that, but nobody really even remembers that LSU was trying to get out of that buyout because time has passed. More stories have happened. We've had the portal chaos. We've had Lane coming there. We've had the playoff. We now are into basketball season and March Madness is close. So I think these universities, I mean, this isn't like a super tight-lipped secret, but I've even heard whispers that like Florida State has tried to find some kind of cause to get out of $50 million to Mike Norvell. I don't think there's anything there. I don't think they're like close to finding, but like, I think all of these universities kind of do this because if you can save $19 million in Tang's situation, if you can save 30, whatever it was for Brian Kelly, maybe 40, if you could save 56 for Mike Norvell, you'll do it. Most of them just never find anything because these contracts are incredibly friendly to coaches. When you're guaranteeing guys 50, 60, 70 million in football, 40 million in basketball. Yeah, it's really tough because the contracts are very friendly towards the employee, not the employer. That's how you hire them. That's how you end up getting Jimmy Sexton to sign the contract. But I don't think it's outrageous for the universities to at least try, because though the chances are low, the risk of the bad PR fades quickly. You end up settling. It's no longer a story. There's going to be some other drama that comes up in college athletics probably that week, if not certainly that month. And it's worth the risk of trying to save the money. LSU tried it, failed. Florida State, kind of behind the scenes. Again, Mike didn't have some big skeleton in the closet. They certainly would be open to him having a skeleton in the closet. And then in Kansas State, just trying to do their very best to save the money. Very unlikely that they'll be successful. Probably a 0.01% chance. But I mean, I understand it. I get it. Because I wouldn't want to pay it either.
I like to think that Kansas State right now is checking every call Jerome Tang has ever made with the university phone. And there's like, escort service. They call it just one number off from the pizza restaurant. Like, oh no, almost had him.
Checking his Instagram likes to see if they can pin something on him.
Hugh Freeze retweeted one of those half naked women this week. They're like, come on, Jerome. Gosh. Come on, Jerome. One click. It's all it takes.
One fat finger on Instagram and you're out of here.
I'm Kalia Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. Dawn Staley and South Carolina remain on top of the SEC standings after handing Tennessee their worst defeat in program history with a final score of 93-40. In the 43-point win, South Carolina shot 69% from the field. Tessa Johnson had a perfect shooting night, scoring 24 points, shooting 4 for 4 from the floor, including 2 threes, and made all 4 of her free throws. And UCLA remains undefeated in Big Ten play, topping Michigan 69-66 as Player of the Year contender Lauren Betts put up a double-double, scoring 16 points, collecting 16 rebounds, and adding 5 assists and 3 blocks. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts the same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
More of a sensitive topic. I've talked about this a couple of times. I know you have as well, but BYU's Parker Kingston obviously arrested with some pretty serious accusations, charges. Let's just talk about this big picture. I know you've covered it some, but let's continue to explore.
Yeah, I want to commend you, TJ, on the job that you've done covering this as well. For me, man, I want to attack it from a new angle today. It's the reason that I wanted to hop on with you and have this conversation. I feel extremely bad for BYU fans. And you know what? I want to say first, I feel for the victim. I feel for Parker Kingston's fiance or ex-fiance, his family. I feel for everybody involved in this. And the reason being, for me personally, from a moral standpoint, I believe that love is the answer. And love doesn't have bounds, right? It goes to all parties involved in this. And I think that's the power of what that word means. I just, in starting with the fans, man, outside looking in, and this is a tough thing that I haven't really been able to verbalize yet, but for BYU fans, is the way that the outside media, the way the outside world is going to see this is, oh, wow, it happened at BYU again. Oh, wow, this is a trend. And while I know BYU, and while I am not ignorant to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, what BYU stands for, there are a lot of people who just don't take the time to research, who don't take the time to actually understand what BYU is. And a lot of times, TJ, it's much easier to hate than it is to understand. It's way easier to just say, I don't like that thing, I hate that thing, I don't understand it, so I'm not going to try to, than it is to really study and learn about BYU and who they are. There are people who are going to see this as a trend. There are Utah fans, there are Arizona fans, there are Michigan State fans who are going to use this against BYU and say that's just a corrupt university and what a corrupt university does. And that's the saddest part. That's the saddest part of the sports side for me. Now, the true sad part comes in what exactly happened and what lives were ruined and the way this happened, and due process will be held. The government will figure that out. This is a criminal case, not for me to decide. In the meantime, sports side, it stinks for BYU fans that this is a black spot, another mar on the fan base, on those 3 letters and what they stand for and what they mean. That hurts, man. You know, like I'm as a Baylor guy, a lot of people remember Baylor for Patrick Dennehy, the basketball player that was killed, or Brittany Griner going to prison in Russia. That's a weird controversy that comes up, or 2016 and the sexual assault scandal amongst the football team and Art Briles. I hate that, man. Ken Starr is an example, right? Just came up in the Epstein files. I hate that Baylor has that reputation. That people think of Baylor and they think of that. I would extra hate, and I don't think it's gotten this extreme yet, that people think, oh, BYU, that's where 2 years in a row. That's where, again, there's a sexual assault case, a rape case against a student athlete. That's the thing that hits me the hardest, is the good people who mean so well and who love well and who do things the right way, that there could ever be misconstrued association with something like this. That's a brutal piece of this. So TJ, I wanted to take a moment as we start the conversation to say that my thoughts are with BYU fans right now who had nothing to do with this and are wondering why us. Why again? They're held to a much higher standard. It's a university that is not just accepted, but embraced that higher standard, embraced the idea that they're going to have to be more careful, to have an honor code, to stick by that honor code. And when news like this comes out, man, I want BYU fans to know that man, I feel for you because you couldn't have prevented it. But gosh, it just stinks that people who are ignorant are going to lump a bunch of BYU into this category.
It is frustrating from that perspective. And I take a lot of things Florida State's way because that's where I have spent most of my life and what things happen. But man, when Jameis was accused back in 2013-14, people certainly did that. And Florida State was good then. BYU's good now. And so you look for any angle you can to talk smack about the team that's good. Right. And so, people said things about Florida State fans who very clearly, no matter what your thoughts on Jameis or the accusations or whatever were, Florida State fans had no part of it, just like BYU fans have no part of this situation. But that's a lot of, and it does cross a line, and people do cross a line with BYU quite often. We talk about the chants and we talk about things that happen at events, but like Florida State fans they're just normal people, right? And BYU fans are just normal people who enjoy athletics and enjoy rooting for their team and the colors and the university and the mission and everything else that happens. And so, from experience a little over a decade ago, when people would say things about FSU fans that was just like, you support this. And you're like, no, man, I just watch football, and if something comes out that is proven to be true about this football player that I enjoy watching, then I'm no longer going to enjoy, wouldn't be on the team, but I'm no longer going to support it. Right. But like the way that the fans do get tied in, especially at a place like BYU, like BYU fans are maybe familiar with this, but like I went to Liberty. And so, you do, when you do go somewhere that is more than just a university, right? Is, FSU, and I don't mean to minimize them at all, but they're a university. They're a place of higher learning, right? Whereas BYU and Liberty and other places around the country, they do mean a little bit more than just, hey, that's my favorite football team. There's an entire faith that's attached to it, and it is part of your identity, more so than just going to Gainesville or going to Tallahassee or Miami or wherever, right? And so for them, when something like this happens, my heart goes out to them too. Not as much as the potential victim or not as much as like the family members or those closely impacted. Sure. Yeah. Like that is the focus. And that's where I feel the worst about this. But you do think about those fans because it is not just a team. It is not just, oh man, Bear Bachmeier and I like him and that's why I support BYU. No, very few BYU fans like BYU because Bear Bachmeier is there, right? They like BYU because it's part of their entire identity. And when that starts to get attacked, it's the same reason we've done countless videos on chants and how disgusted we are with that. Listen, I've had people tell me, FFSU many times, and I just kind of can brush it off. When it is attached to their entire identity or a large part of their identity, I don't want to just reduce them to a religion or me to a religion or anything like that. But when it's tied to so much of their actual life, that absolutely sucks. And so I do think, man, we have great BYU commenters. We've had great BYU viewers, and it might be easy for a lot of people to just look at it and not understand the total encompassing kind of like idea of BYU or the entire like mission that is BYU or Liberty or any of these places. But we don't often see that behind every commenter and behind every viewer is an actual person. Yep. And at a place like BYU, again, it is tied so much deeper to who they are as people or who I am as a person that I do think that is a struggle because it's easy for just another Big 12 fan or another fan of another program that just wants to take cheap shots because that's what we do. When Penn State has stuff go on, we take cheap shots. When Miami can't remember to kneel, we take cheap shots. When Florida State goes 2-10, we take cheap shots like that. And that's fine. That's part of sports. But when it's tied to something like this, man, it is so much harder and it's so much more serious.
I've seen a lot of people attack the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in the wake of this or BYU in the comment sections of just, oh, this is to be expected. Like, dang, man, that sucks to see. Does somebody just lump everybody and everything in with these now two events? And TJ, I have some grace for that. This is going to sound kind of weird, but in the same way I have grace for the 20-year-old who's at the Oklahoma State basketball game chanting F the Mormons because his buddy next to him's doing it. I've got grace for that guy. When you say love, you do that, you extend that to all parties. I've got grace, the 20-year-old kid trying to figure out life. It's like, oh, these guys are yelling this. It must be fun. And they do it. I don't pin this on them being monsters. I don't. Somebody in the comment section who's like, "Oh, this is just part of the Mormon way." Like, I don't think that person's a monster. I think they are misconstrued. They are ignorant. They don't understand, and they don't want to understand. And that's what's so frustrating is headlines like these push them further in the opposite direction. That's why BYU has the honor code. That's why they stick to such a commitment. And so, man, I want people to know. It's the reason. Another anecdote. This is really behind the scenes. On average, our viewership, TJ, it's fairly similar to audiences. They watch about 1 or 2 out of every 5 videos we post. And somebody's listening right now going, "No, I watch every one." You do. But most
and you're the best. Yeah, right, you're our favorite.
Right. You're awesome. Most people swing by every now and then and kind of ebb and flow and come in and out. So the reason we continue to talk about these issues is the more that we can educate and the more that we can keep people from being ignorant when they stop at that one video out of every 5, hopefully that nugget is in there for them to open their minds and learn. That's my goal, so that there are less comments of, "Oh, this is to be expected." No, it's not to be expected. I know these fans. I've been there. I've seen it. TJ, you know these people. You've seen them. You've reacted with them, interacted with them in the comment section. These are really good people. And these two scenarios they're not indicative of what BYU is. They're not indicative of that fan base, of that faith. And I really hope that collectively we can have thoughts, the prayers, the love for the victim, for Parker, for his family, for all those people, yet still understand it's not directly inherently tied to what BYU is as an institution.
Yeah, I think a lot of times just in our society and with the way that college football rivalries and smack talk works, we do forget the humanity element of our world. And not just in sports. We do that in politics. We do that in economics. We do that in just, any kind of realm that you can imagine. And so I understand it to a degree. Like you said about, the 25-year-old drunk kid that's doing, participates in the chants because all his buddies are doing it. Yeah. So I get that. But I do hope that we talk about football a lot. We talk about the portal. We talk about NIL. We crash on the SEC. We talk about game previews. We talk about a lot of things. Some things are a little bit bigger. And I would just, if we could urge anybody, I think it is to remember the humanity of things. And, maybe you didn't tune into, either channel today to hear that message. But I do think that is important. And I think that's something that's lost in these tougher times. Now, BYU goes out and loses a game on a last second Hail Mary, and you want to talk smack about that, be my guest, man. That is what rivalries in college football are all about. There are some bigger issues that are not attached to on the field things that I do think people need to be educated on. And yeah, that's why we continue to do it. I would rather talk about football and complain about the SEC than talk about serious issues like this. But I do think they're important, and that's why we keep doing it.
For sure. And I think this is it's the only way that I can showcase my respect for what BYU fans have done for me. And that it is personal, right? BYU fans, I feel personal and a connection to them. So I want to make sure that I represent them well.
Drake, where can people follow you? Where can they find your work?
Yep, at Locked On Big 12, wherever you find your podcasts, and on YouTube, as well as at Drake C. Toll on Twitter.
Appreciate you, man.
Thanks, TJ.